Biology Part 220. A human cell, for example, has 800 times more DNA than the bacterium E. It increases the quantity of DNA per cell, seems to have come about the duplication and translocation affecting the chromosome, and possibly also as the result of the viral infection. Surprisingly, only a small fraction of the total DNA in eukaryotic cell codes for proteins. Some of the remaining non-coding regions are thought to make successful chromosomes mutations more likely, and therefore to increase the rate at which new proteins evolve. Given a source of new genes and increased amounts of the DNA, independent assortment of the chromosomes and crossing over during the meiosis help to produce genetic recombination, leading to the formation of genetically varied gametes and thereby maintaining variations among the offsprings. While both species have adaptations for cross-fertilization, which further increases genetic variability. Natural selection in action. In the following example, quoted from The Origin of Species, Darwin explains how insect-pollinated flowers might have arisen from self-pollinated ones. This is the text that we have taken from the Darwin's own research, and the context has been provided in the quoted context. And here I read it. It may be worthwhile to give another and more complex illustration of the action of natural selection. Certain plants excrete sweet juice apparently for the sake of culminating something injurious from the sap. This is affected, for instance, by glands at the base of the stipules in some leguminous sac and at the backs of the leaves of the common laurel. This juice, though small in quantity, is greedily sought by the insects, but their visits do not in any way benefit the plant. Now let us suppose that the juice or the nectar was excreted from the inside of the flowers of a certain number of plants of any species. Insects, in seeking nectar, would get dusted with the pollen and would often transport it from one flower to another. The flowers of two distinct individuals of the same species would thus get crossed, and the act of the crossing, as can be fully proved, gives rise to the vigorous seedlings, which consequently would have the best chance of flourishing and surviving. The plants which produce flowers with the largest glands or nectaries excreting most nectar would oftenest be crossed, and so in the long run would gain the upper hand and from a local variety. The flowers also, which had their stamens and pastils placed in the relation on to the size and habits of the particular insects which visited them, so as to favor in any degree the transportal of the pollen would likewise be favored. Arguments of this kind illustrate the explanatory power of the natural selection, but are inevitably weakened by a lack of experimental evidence. However, since Darwin's time, I haven't quoted it, and now whatever I've read from the arguments, it's in fact my own commentary, and the quoted content has been read off. However, since Darwin's time, there have been many detailed studies of the natural selection which confirm its importance as a mechanism of change. The normal forms of both the Biston Betteraria has speckled the grayish-white wings. The color and pattern are very effective camouflage against the lichen covered branches and the trunks of the trees where the moths usually rest during the day.